all the questions that are on my mind. Woo. Since I've been away, all I think about is you. Since I've been away.
Pam has been to court. She's
Oh, yes, I saw you put that in chat.
yeah, so I want to hear kind of about her experience, what she experienced there in the courtroom. She saw that lady face to face.
I locked eyes with her. First I'll say, I know that someone in chat said if I would take off work to go. I encourage you to go. Watch our judicial system work, how it plays out. It's much different than watching it on TV, extremely different. I wasn't prepared for the things I saw, the pictures I saw. And this was Wednesday afternoon. So if you go back to the trial, you'll see me. I wore a blue sweater in support of Gannon's family. She has no soul. She's empty. And if you ever looked at someone, she's got these black beady eyes, and it's like you can just steer right through her. She has nothing inside, in my opinion. When the camera does, she'll come in from lockup, and it's, behind the jury. She'll come in from lockup, and she'll sit down. She has to be seated before, we walk in. However, I decided I wasn't going to get up. I wanted to see how she was locked in the courtroom, if she was shackled at her feet. She was shackled to the floor. Very strange. So that's when she would shoot daggers over at his family. I mean, just turn her head and look. So she looks like an innocent little lady on TV. But what you don't see is when she turns her head, and it's just this, it's a blank stare.
I'm surprised she looks at the family, seeing that she covers her face all the time. That surprises me.
I don't know if this to be true, but she would part her, like grab the back of her hair, she'd pull it down, and then she would start to itch the back of her hair. I mean, if she did it so many times, I itched my own hair. You know what I mean? When you see somebody itching, and I'm like, oh my God, did she get lice in jail or something?
Maybe.
I mean, because she itched it terrible. And I mean, I could see her hands, and her hands are very small. I mean, I only sat 3 rows back from her. And I don't know, girls, it was very strange.
How about the jury? What can you tell us about them? How do they seem all this testimony and stuff was going on?
Listening very hard. They are listening when when the witness talks, they're all staring at the witness. When the attorney asks questions, they're looking at the attorney. They are looking at her as well, which is why the comment came up. Are we supposed to take into account when she shakes her head, when she, does certain mouth motions and stuff, because she does do that.
Yeah, I can't believe they asked that. Like, oh my God, no, I hope this is not another Casey Anthony level jury, because it should be common sense. No, you don't take that into consideration.
Well, this is where, that you take all emotion out of it. You know what I'm saying? And as I was so interested to see the jury and to see how their reactions were in court, because, sometimes they can give you a feel, even in the beginning, what people are thinking.
That was my question.
And,
what vibe?
They were blank. They were blank. I can tell you that there was only a few young people, and the rest of the people were definitely, over 40. Some as even as 70, I mean, but, I kind of was scared when I went upstairs to the fourth floor. I saw this one person sitting on a bench, and I was like, well, I'll just go sit over here with her to make sure I'm in the right place. And then I walked past her because I always wanted to, examine her before I sat down. And I saw a jury pen, and I thought, no, your big ass mouth will open it in the wrong way,
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm not going to sit by her. I said,
you don't want to make small talk.
Yeah,
small talk with the juror.
And then I saw a YouTube creator there that was, sitting behind me. And the defense, I feel like Mr. Cook would lock up his briefcase and walk out at any minute. I feel like that man is he appears by body language and the huffing and puffing that he does. I feel like we're wasting his time. He does not want to be there. Now, the guy that I say he's been tanning for 50 years and never stopped because he's orange. It's the other defense attorney. And he has no personality whatsoever. None. Sometimes they'll say things that break, or they'll say things before you enter court, and the judge will laugh and the clerk will laugh, and he is just blah. There is a man that, if you're looking at the TV right behind where the lawyers are on defense, and when they're up at the podium, the man to the right, as if you were looking at the TV, he's an undercover cop.
Okay.
He is the man that, when it's time to take Letecia out of court, he goes and stands in front of her. And then the female bailiff that's in there will go and unlock her feet. She does have a belt on, one of those electric belts.
Okay.
And then handcuffs her. And
Yeah, she's an escape risk. She tried it multiple
Yeah.
times.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I did speak to Al, and I told him that every single day I'll pray for you. And I told him I supported him, and I gave him a hug. He was very kind. His new wife is very pretty and very supportive of him. He would put his head down, and he just couldn't. He couldn't look at the camera anymore. He just put his head straight down, and his new wife would hold him and rub his back. And but I was there when the bridge inspector got on the stand.
Oh, okay.
And so we heard all about that, and that's when I saw pictures of what he found.
The suitcase. You
Oh
saw
my gosh.
Yes. I saw the blankets when they were spread out in evidence room. I saw a pillow. I saw gunshots through the pillow, and I saw that baby.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could be able to view that.
It was when he said I saw little feet in football socks. It was very evident what he saw. I mean, you could see it.
Yeah, and he had an emotional reaction too. He's like, I had to turn away. Like, they're asking, what did you do now? And he's like, I had to turn. I couldn't look.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see it on TV, but they were out talking to him about, his job and the inspection, and how long, do you wait before inspections, and how do you inspect a bridge? Like, that mattered, but he told it all. And when he was asked what he found, that man completely, it was like a shade of red just came right down his face, and his cheeks were on fire. They were red. And I think he kept looking at Gannon's dad, and I think that poor man was like, I have to tell. Now it's reality. I have to tell what I saw. And this is the first time these pictures are coming on screen. And I think that it bothered the hell out of that man to have to say those things in front of his dad.
Right.
And then when I saw the little boy, it just put it in perspective that there is some horrible people out there. Like, then when I looked at her hands, I was like, I had every word in the world to say at that moment. And I thought, I've never been to jail. I want to see how it's like.
Right.
And then I thought, well, I'm on camera and that'll be all over YouTube. But I just, you felt a certain way. Like, how the hell could you do this to him? Look at this baby.
Yeah. Those hands, those little hands you saw did that.
And
that awful thing.
And his little feet with those socks. I mean, he was in a fetal position. So if you can imagine, the suitcase was, as they say, not a carry-on. It's something you would definitely check in. But it was good to see. It was good to see that when I'm watching Letecia on TV versus watching her in person, she's a master manipulator. I believe she's trying to manipulate the jury into thinking that she is still lost her mind. She's still insane. She's always been this way. And then there's things I think that when Al speaks, the jury writes a whole lot. They have like this gray clipboard and they write a whole lot. And then, I think that they're getting some good information, really good information to prove that day she did this on the 27th, that she was perfectly normal. That body camera, I saw that too. And the way that woman reacted on the 27th of January, there is no way a sound person would have ever acted that way. This was so premeditated and calculated.
You think so? You think it was premeditated?
Oh, absolutely. The body cam of the deputy that showed up the day Gannon went missing, the body cam tells the whole story. She's laughing. She's joking. As a woman who had custody as well, of these children, she has no number to call a friend. Oh, I don't tell him yes or no. That's his dad. What?
Wow.
Why aren't you? And then she went to a doctor here in the Springs that said that she had anxiety, and that I had went with her one time to the doctor, and she received some medication for anxiety, and that's the last known time that Al ever knew she went to the hospital or the doctor. And
Right. He said he only knew of one time and he waited in the waiting room.
Yep. And so wouldn't you think that if you suffered from any sort of anxiety, that when that baby hasn't showed up by 10 o'clock at night, you're not in an extreme panic?
Absolutely.
Right.
And she was not. She was not. She was laughing. She even pulled the carpet back. I was like, oh, he broke the carpet, and it was candles, and, I had to clean it up.
Yeah, I thought
just
that
wanted
was
to do
weird.
it.
How
Yeah,
on the
very
body
strange.
cam, we didn't get to see the video. We only got to hear the audio portion of it. But I remember thinking to myself, wait, your kid is missing, didn't come home, and you're concerned about a carpet. I would be absolutely hysterical because it was sleeting. The weather was getting cold. My child left on foot, but there was none of that.
And
Oh,
his
here, look at the carpet we
switch.
burned.
Yeah, his switch, his game system. She tried to blame on him that he researched if your parents could find out where you are by your Nintendo Switch. She was like, and I found that. And then he erased it all. And we were trying to say that, that he wasn't allowed to be on YouTube either. And I'm going, and then the evidence bags came in. And that's when the switch was in the bag. And I don't know if the switch was in the bag. They alluded to the fact that the switch was in the bag, but they did show his toothbrush. That was the DNA sample that Al gave, and his comb. And I learned about the evidence bags, like how they're taped and how you open them and what the different tape signifies. It was really neat. That's gruesome to say neat, but it is interesting to see the way this works.
Yeah, I love to watch trials, for watching how all of the little steps take place, and how much of the stuff that is actually known that the jury never gets to hear. There's all these things that happen away from the jurors' presence and gets decided and ruled can't come into court and can't be discussed because of whatever reasons. But I find the whole thing fascinating.
Yes. And I would definitely say You know, you don't even realize you're in there for 5 hours. You have no idea time, you know, and once they're like, break, you're like, what? We just had a break, you know? I mean, because it's so, everything is fact. You know, there is
Right.
no BS. It is factual. And man, all I can hope is that the jury does find her guilty, because she's playing a game. She doesn't even cry. She has no emotion whatsoever. And she puts her
Wow.
fingers in her ears.
Like a child.
Yes. And then then after, like, she'll put her fingers in her ears, and then she'll take her hands back, and then she'll rub it through her hair, and then hold her ears with her palms, like she doesn't want to hear it. Mm-mm.
Wow.
And she didn't even have the balls to look at what she did to Gannon. Her head was all the way down for that one. She didn't want to
Oh,
look at that baby. And I thought, you bitch. I wish that judge would say, girl, sit up straight, pay attention. Right? I know he can't do that, but Lord Almighty,
yeah.
you know. But I will be returning. I'll be going back. You know, I love my adventures, and
Yeah.
this is just one on a sad spectrum, but I'm very curious.
Yeah.
So, but if you have
Casey
any other
Anthony.
questions for me, I will answer them.
Casey Anthony did that too. I remember when they were showing photos of the swamp that Kaylee was found in, and the autopsy photos. She would look away instead of, facing what she did. Like, you did this.
Yeah.
Look at what you did to this child.
Yeah, there is definitely some Casey Anthony characteristics. You know, it's very different, as I said, from being in person and on TV, but watching Casey Anthony on TV and seeing her in person, there's some little correlation there. I don't know how much, but you can see a lot of characteristics between the two.
Wow. I really got to get up to speed on this case. Like I said, I've only gotten as far as the phone calls. I didn't get to the 2 days prior to that yet. The phone calls, just listening to this dad pleading for information and realizing that he was being fed a line of bull over and over and over again. I wanted to go through the phone at her.
Yeah. She
Oh, me
talks
too.
so fast, and she, you know, and she steps over her lies. I mean, the lies do come out. You can hear it. I mean, it's obvious, you know. She'll say
Right.
one thing on one call, and then the next call it's totally different. And then we're hearing like 3 different stories of what she says happened. And
Well,
it's
I said that yesterday about an entirely different situation, but when you lie, you've got to tell more lies and more lies and more lies to, you know,
yeah.
make that lie work. And then it becomes really hard to remember which lies you told.
You know, my
And
mama always used to tell me, she goes, Kim, a lie is like cat shit in a litter box. She said the cat'll crap, she says, and then it'll cover it up. And then it'll come back and crap and cover it more up. She said, and that's the way it works. She said, eventually it opens up and the truth comes out, you know?
mhm.
She always told me that. My mama was real smart, is real smart, I should say.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to going back next week. I have decided that I wouldn't like to go when the medical examiner's on the stand. I don't really think I need to see that picture again. I've seen it once. I don't need to see it
Right?
again. Yeah.
That had to be really hard. I don't think I could look.
And see, I don't have a weak stomach, and I can look at pictures like that and I feel for them in the picture. I feel, but then I'm like, okay, I got this, but when you're sitting there and you're staring, you have locked eyes with a child killer. Oh no, that goes in the window. I mean, out the window. You're ready to.
Right.
I was like,
And
well,
and that photo is of a child.
yes, a
A
baby.
child that couldn't defend himself.
Yes,
A
and
child
just
that was harmed by an adult.
yeah,
That
his little pants. You could see his pants. Oh dear Jesus! And all I thought was, I don't even want to call you crazy. I want to call you the most mean, calculated, horrendous woman that had no feelings for this child. None. Because he was in a fetal position. Like, she had to put him that way, guys,
yeah.
Just don't get in she wouldn't have never just gotten a suitcase and did that. She had to literally force his legs like that.
Mm-hmm.
She had to have. And the more I looked at her after that, the more I thought, and this is the truth, I wore fuck off socks, and I kind of didn't realize. I mean, I wore them because one of my favorite pair, but I thought, take these damn shoes up and just put your feet up on that bench
No, you don't.
and say,
Get
fuck
out.
off. And I thought, well, better not do that either. I might be all over YouTube. They can see my ass in court.
We'd be proud of you, but you'll get kicked out of the court, and then
Yeah.
you won't be able to go back. So don't do
Yeah.
that.
So I was like, well, but it's not that I was going to react that way, but it was just that I can't describe the feeling when it's scary. I guess I would say she
Yeah.
scared me.
Does she have any family there supporting her or anybody at all on her side?
Zero.
I would think too also that most of them would be witnesses.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no. I worry if Harley's going to show up. She has taken a 2-week vacation prior to court starting to the Caribbean. And I mean, there's only so many, times you're going to run from the law when you're subpoenaed. But I thought maybe she'd be there just in support of her mom. But I honestly believe in my heart and in my soul that Harley knew it happened. Harley, there was no doubt of the smell that was in the vehicle when she was traveling with Harley. And
yeah, I wondered about that too.
Yeah, I wonder about
Nobody
it.
questioned that giant ass suitcase. How big was
No.
the suitcase? Was it like to fit a human and bedding in there? That can't be a normal size suitcase.
No, the way it looks to me and the way that they described it was, when you get on a plane and you can carry like the little rolling suitcase on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a set of luggage, you probably have 3 or 4 pieces of luggage
Mm-hmm.
in that set. So I wouldn't say it was the extra, extra large one. It was the one step down, just maybe a larger suitcase. And yeah.
Was it a hard suitcase or how they have like the hard side
No, it
ones
was
or
cloth.
the soft? Okay.
It was cloth. And that bridge guy just got to me terrible. And then the next guy that came up on the stand was a crime scene investigator at the time. And he testified too that, he looked all over, for missing kids in that area. And there was no missing kids coming up. And so he went to the national database, and he said the next morning somebody came in with a picture of Gannon. And he said that, they didn't positively identify him, but they knew it was him by the little gap in his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and then I contacted El Paso County Sheriff. So, and you don't know who the witnesses are, that are coming up the next day or day before. And so you just kind of go and you get what you get that day. They don't tell us, hey, the medical examiner is coming up today, or somebody else that laid eyes on that suitcase that can identify it. And they brought the suitcase in court today. And they didn't want to keep it in there due to the smell that it had been frozen all this time.
Wow.
But I don't know. It was just, you know, I don't really know how to explain this, but you know, your perception of a murderer, you're like, oh, I'd love to see them. I'd kick their asses. Let me tell you something. When you get face to face with one, there's a little fear that goes through your body. And I was a little fearful knowing that she had the capability to do this.
Hmm.
Know how it feels to be that way, you know, and looking at her, very scary.
Right.
And her damn hands, they're so little. Her thumb is just, it's so little. Her hands are just little. And I thought, you overpowered that little boy. He was a teeny boy. So
Well,
I'm
and that
interested to
was
go back.
the adult that was in charge of him.
Yeah. The adult.
I
The
can't.
only thing that I didn't like during what I heard was when Al said that she liked the kids some of the time, and other times she just checked out. I didn't like that.
Yeah. I
You know?
I couldn't leave my kids with somebody that checked out some of the time. I just
Yeah.
couldn't.
Mm-hmm. And then when he gave her custody, 2019 summer, was because he was in Alaska and she hated Alaska. So she had, you know, full rights over the kids because they did the fall semester with her in Myrtle Beach. And so, you know, did you notice anything then? And I love to ask Al, why did you tell your mother that you were concerned about her mental status? Why? If you knew that. But I guess you just don't really think somebody's going to murder your kids, you know?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Right.
And
Right. You don't ever expect anybody's going to murder your kids. That's bottom line there.
right.
And then I think that people don't understand too when a parent has to go, deployed for whatever reasons for long periods of time, that is a big issue, is getting somebody that can actually properly care for your child for that length of time.
Right. So I know, I will go back. Curiosity kills the cat sometimes, and that's me. And, I just want to see the way it works and, the way testimonies are being heard and what the jury's really hanging on to. And I'm glad they're writing things. I'm glad they're very involved,
Yeah.
And the funniest thing to me was when I saw the jury. I mean, you'd think back in the day, and I thought back in the day when you go into a courtroom that the judge would say, get out of my courtroom if you're not dressed properly. You had to dress up.
Yeah.
But
some
no,
some some judges are like that. If you come in and you're not, in long pants and a proper shirt, you can't come in. Then I see other courts where they come in flip flops and shorts.
yeah,
I
I
think
thought
it
I was going
depends
to
on the judge.
I have no words. No, I'm here. I don't even know what to say.
I know.
Like the way she describes it, like you can get a visual.
Right.
And if you think that they can't see her face through that hair,
Mm-hmm.
You can. It's just the weirdest. It's very odd. I mean, it's very you look at these people that are deciding what's going to happen to her life, and
Mm-hmm.
you just wonder what they're thinking. You're wondering where they're, I mean, it's only been 4 days into it, but this is traumatic for these people,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, you're supposed to take all emotion out of it. You're supposed to only listen to the facts, which is right. But factually, in my head, factually, you murdered this kid. He was 11. He had no way to defend himself, and much less should he have ever tried to defend himself.
Not from somebody that was,
He
being
trusted.
a parent figure in your life.
He wrote
Why?
a letter to her that they had in court, and he did trust her. He did love her. He wrote her a card, and they had the inside of the card copied and submitted as evidence.
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm just like, how can you hear this? Why don't you just stand up and say, stop this? I can't deal with it. I want to go to jail for the rest of my life. Because you're already going, But I think the body cam will show, and it proves that you are absolutely sane. No parent laughs uncontrollable while they're searching your home for a child that could be hiding. It just,
Right.
mm-mm. And then there's a name that's brought up, guys, that I want you to remember, and it's Taylor.
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 Didn't she give Taylor as her middle name?
Yes. And Al said it was very weird because on Facebook, her name was Tisha Taylor or something like that.
Right.
And that was her middle name. And he said that was not her middle name. Her middle name is Lynn. But her excuse is she always wanted to be a Taylor. She always wanted Taylor to be in her middle name.
And I noticed she pronounced her name as Tesha instead of Tisha.
Yep.
To the cops, too.
I mean, I just don't think that proves insanity,
No, and it doesn't prove multiple personality disorder either. I think it's just she was being
I
manipulated.
think that's what I felt like when I heard that. I felt like that was going to be part of their defense to try, but it seems like the prosecution has kind of built the foundation to defend against that as well.
Yeah, you could absolutely tell that. And I will tell you that Gannon's father takes no crap off that defense attorney. Zero.
Yeah,
If
he's
you
a
said it,
very
you prove it.
good. He's a very good witness because he's not going to be led into saying anything that he didn't actually say. He asks for clarification when they say something, or he'll say that wasn't my description, or I didn't classify it like that, or he's a really good witness.
Oh yeah, there was one. I can't remember, but it was Wednesday afternoon when they presented this statement from an interview that Al gave with the police. And here's what the defense attorney did. He took, you might already, tell me you already know about things like this, but he took maybe 4 or 5 words out of a sentence and used it against him. And the defense would say, you said, during this interview, blah, 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 blah. And he said, I don't recall. Do you have that in writing? And sure enough,
Excuse me a minute. I gotta go attend to whatever's barking.
But
Keep
sure
going, Cam.
enough,
I'm here. I was just muted because I have some background noise here.
oh, okay.
Let me change
Sure
rooms
enough,
here.
when he asked to see that part of the transcript on what he said, it was a totally different meaning. Like he took just a set of words out of a conversation and the defense tried to twist it.
Right.
And then when
Which,
he asked to read the transcript, it was over with. He was like, I did not say that in this context, you know?
yeah. So, what kind of vibe are you getting from the defense attorneys? Because when I hear them, like he sounds so uninterested. I guess his job is to try to push this insanity defense, but it seems like he's struggling.
He is.
You think
Mr.
so?
Cook. Mr. Cook is struggling. The other one, I don't remember. His last name starts with a T. He has brown hair. That's the one I said that looks like he tanned for 50 years because he's orange.
Yeah.
But he tries to engage a hell of a lot more than Mr. Cook does. Mr. Cook got to the point where he doesn't even stand to say, no objection, Your Honor. And he'll say it in such a way that's just, I don't care, Your Honor. You know, it's
Right.
just, he is definitely not engaged. And she is not engaged with them, you know? So, I mean, these two attorneys sit, you know, far away from her. And then if they have a question, they'll, you know, roll over in their chairs to her. But Mr. Cook, I think that it's weighs heavy on his heart. It just, that's my vibe.
Wow. I know she writes a lot too. Like, is she writing letters to them, or is she doodling or sending like messages, like telling them, "Hey, object to this," or whatever?
Wednesday, I didn't see her write. She did have a legal pad, but what I did see her do is take a drink of her bottled water, and that burned my ass. I didn't feel she had the right to take a drink of that water, you know? But there
Yeah.
again, that's my emotion,
No
you know?
bread, no water, no nothing.
No bologna. Oh,
No cheese in a can.
and
No
I think
peanut
that
butter.
leads me to the point of, in my mind, victims have no rights. The criminal appears to have all the rights,
Yeah.
you know,
Sadly, it's true.
and that bothers me,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's
In an
so they
effort to
can't.
make sure that they can have a fair trial,
Yeah.
it seems like the rights all go the wrong direction. It's
Yeah,
but it has to be that way because so many also on the flip side of it, have been convicted wrongly.
right.
So, as frustrating as it seems, you want to make sure that those that are convicted are actually guilty of what they're accused of.
Yeah. I mean, and then I want to ask what constitutes fair?
Hmm.
Because fair to me would say, Gannon, it wasn't fair to him. He did not have
Right,
a choice,
right.
but she gets a choice. And
Right.
that burns me.
I mean, sadly, kids have the least amount of rights of anybody.
Yes. It's like, you
People,
know, Eliza, they
people
could
are
just,
allowed to strike them and call it punishment, and
Mhm.
it's fine. Um, I don't get me started. I don't want to go there.
well, see, and another thing that I felt like was not insanity, that was thinking. It was thinking what your next step had to do. And when she was cleaning the carpet and the light switch and the electrical outlet, she says, I was cleaning because you know how Gannon bites his nails and he gets it to the bed and it starts to bleed. She was like, so there was blood on the socket. I guess he bled when he was asleep or something. And when he flipped the light switch, that's where the blood was at. Great excuse. But when you line
Yeah.
up like 6 or 7 different brushes in a dishwasher that are not the same whatsoever, and 2 pairs of scissors, and this is a photograph I saw of these brushes that she put in the dishwasher. You had to think to do that, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And the carpet fibers were still in these brushes. And I thought, that proves to me that you're cleaning it up. You're sane cleaning this up,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then when the cops on that body cam were searching the home, you know, of course, all the lights were off and you could just see his body cam and his flashlight. But the boy was gone. He was not in that house. She had
Yeah, he was
already
in the back of
transported him.
yeah, and he sat in the back of her SUV also while they
Yeah.
searched.
I mean, I don't
Crazy.
know how many people have smelt a decomposing human remains.
You never forget it.
You never, ever, 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 never forget it. And you could spot that smell in the woods. I mean, you can spot it if it's in a vehicle. I mean, it is very strong. And your saliva glands will just start rolling and your mouth gets full of saliva. I mean, it's awful.
Mm.
But guys, yeah, when I go back, I'll gladly come and tell you what else
Yeah.
I saw, and you know, and if you're in the area, please go. And if you need somebody to go with you, I'll go with you. You know, I can save my dates for whenever anybody wants to go, and I'll just go with, and we'll get through it together because it's very, very sad.
There you go. For those of you in the area that are thinking of attending, you have somebody to go with you.
Maybe you'll find a new friend, a good friend. But, yep. Thank y'all for letting me come up. I'm glad to tell you anything I learned or anything I saw. But I'll be back with some more info.